Hello and welcome to another video. So in today's video, we're going to have a look at why you should not be competing on time and why you should instead be competing on focus. Okay, so one mistake that I see most entrepreneurs making and people just in general making is they try to compete on time. Okay, and I'm going to do this in a bit of a diagram for you, but they try to compete on time, and you should never compete on time, right? You've got three things you've got really two things that determine your productivity, right? So your time that you put into something and your focus. And whatever you multiply these two things against, that will give you your productivity. Okay, and it's important to really understand this, and I will do it in a little diagram for you to explain, and then I will come back up here and try and explain it a bit more. Okay, but essentially what we're doing is we have two gender neutral stick figures over here. Okay, over there we've got number one, number two. Maybe they've got some muscles. Okay, and here's person number one, here's person number two. And what we see here is, let's draw a little box around them. We give them a task to do, right? We say to them, I want you to read pages in a book, right? And you have 1 hour. Okay, so we give them 1 hour of time. And we say, in this 1 hour of time, I want you to read as many pages in a book as what you can read, right? So they both have the same amount of time. So person number one, okay, he reads for an hour and he gets to, like, let's say 50 pages, okay, in a book. And they both have the same book. And person number two reads the same book with the same amount of time, but he only gets to 20 pages. Now, the time is the same, right? They both had 1 hour to do a task. And let's go up here. Right, so they had 1 hour, okay, to complete a task. Okay, that was the time allotted for them. And person number one did it in, he read 20 pages, person number two read 50 pages, okay? And what we're really seeing here is, let's say, okay, this is going to be a bit of an exaggeration, but we're going to have a look over here and we're going to see, okay? So person number one had 20 units of focus. Okay, that's really what this comes down to. All of this stuff is measured in units. Okay, so person number one had 20 units of focus, and person number two, who had the same 1 hour, okay, or person number two and number one over here. So this was person number one, this was person number two. Okay, so person number one had 1 hour, okay, and he had 50 units of focus, and that equaled, okay, the 50 pages or the 50 units of productivity and the 20 units of productivity of person number two. So what we're really seeing is that focus is a force multiplier, right? So time multiplied by focus gives you a exponential result, which we call productivity. And we really see this pattern repeat, right? And this is why you can have two people with exactly the same, I said this in a previous video as well. You can have two people with exactly the same information, but yet they will get a different result. But you can have two people with exactly the same amount of time and they will still also get a different result, right? Based on their level of focus. So if we had to write this out here again, because we have time, we have focus, and we have productivity. Okay, so we have 10 hours to complete a task. Okay, we have three people, 10 hours to complete a task each. Okay, person number one has 2 units of focus. Person number 10 has 5 units of focus, and let's say, or person number two, and then person number three has, let's say, 10 units of focus. Okay, so the results we're going to get here, if we multiply this out, is 20 units of productivity for person number one, 50 units of productivity for person number two, and 100 units of productivity, okay, for person number three. As always, this is measured in units. So, at the end of the day, let's have a look at this. We can see, just by looking at this, right, by increasing our focus or our ability to focus on a task, okay, we are drastically improving the amount of productivity we can squeeze out of something. So person number two has experienced 20 units of productivity, but person number three has experienced a 5x of that, right? 5 times more productivity by being more dialed in and more focused. Now, this is all good and well. You can understand this this let's say principle, but how does it help you, and how do you improve this thing called focus? And there are various things that we can do, right? I mean, I'm not going to go too in depth in it at the moment, but really the reason why we cannot focus in life is because we have these cheap dopamine hits, right? We're living in a world of instant gratification, and we only really focus on things when we're getting that reward, right? This goes back to how we form habits. And if you really look at focus and you break it down into its constituent parts, and you kind of dissect the word, and you kind of dissect what it means to kind of focus, you come to the conclusion that we're living in a world full of distractions. Really, we are. You go on social media and you're busy doom scrolling TikTok, or doom scrolling Instagram or Facebook or so on and so forth, right? And it's busy destroying your brain, right? It's rotting your brain. It's let's say I like to refer to social media as the University of Brain Damage, right? Because it leaves holes in your brain. Because if all you're ever doing is sitting on there and busy refreshing your screen until you get something that you like, right? It's instant dopamine hits, it's instant gratification. Alcohol's another one. Alcohol is instant gratification, right? You drink, you get drunk, and it's basically an action, and you get the reward, right? And smoking is the same, right? You smoke and you get a hit in your brain, right? Nicotine is a nootropic, so you feel good, you feel alert, and all the stuff that comes along with that. You eat something sweet, or you eat a full food that is exploding in flavor, right? It's instant gratification all the time. You see people who are eating hot sauce. Every single time they need to go hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter. And it gets to the point that if they don't have something hot with their food, they cannot taste their food, right? So really what they're doing is they're dulling their senses. So a lack of focus is, a lack of, senses, let's say, right? It's dulled senses. And that's really what it is. And a lot of things really determine our level of our focus. And I would say that the number one thing is our diet, right? And the reason why our diet has such a big impact on our focus is because of energy. Right? So we know that if we have to, perform a task, all of this stuff takes energy, right? So focus, okay, takes a lot of energy. And if you are consuming food, okay, I've seen this a lot of times. I speak to a lot of people, and every time after lunchtime, they are lethargic. They are really tired, and it looks like honestly the guy just needs a nap, right? And the reason this is because when we eat a food with really let's say processed foods, or foods with a lot of sugar, or foods bursting with flavor, or even high in carbs, right? Or even salty food. What's really happening is, especially on the carb side and processed food side and processed sugars, is that our body needs to break down that food, right? And what happens is it starts to take energy from all of your organs, right? And your brain is basically an organ, right? And you need a clear brain, you need your brain for focus, okay? And when your energy is in your brain, it's easy to focus. But the minute you start eating food and your body needs to pull energy from your brain to break down the food, you start to lose focus, right? So you might start the morning with 10 units of focus, okay, over here, and you eat, and then your focus goes down from a 10 to a 2 in the afternoon, okay? You are essentially losing 8 units of focus just by eating shitty. And that's really how important diet is, right? People think that it's too simple, and it cannot be that simple, right? There is, maybe something extra, or the secret sauce, or so on and so forth. But that is not the case. Really, it comes down to diet, guys. Diet, good sleep, all the first principle things that we do. But the number one thing that determines our focus is our diet, right? The goal of food is to fuel the body. You need to feed the body food that has energy, clean food, structured food, right? A good mixture of proteins and vegetables. And by doing this, right, essentially what you're doing is you're taking wood and you're throwing it on a fire. If you take wet wood and you put it on fire, it's not going to burn as well, and it's going to smoke, and it's going to smell really bad. But if you take a dry piece of wood and that's optimized for fire, and you throw it on the fire, it's going to burn it's nobody's business, right? It's going to burn red. It's going to be burn bright. It's going to be super, super hot, and it's going to burn clean. It's not going to give you that smoke. So that's just how important food is, right? You have to understand what you're busy putting into this furnace, and the brain is the second gut, right? And you don't want to have all your energy over there though. You want to have it up here. You want to be able to focus. And the better you eat, the more focused and more dialed in you'll be. And you also need to practice that, right? You need to starve your brain. Really, what you have to do is you have to starve your brain of the cheap dopamine. The modern day devil is cheap dopamine. That's exactly what it is, right? Living in a world of instant gratifications, you have to sacrifice that. And if you think that you cannot sacrifice that, congratulations, you'll always be unsuccessful. And that is just the reality of things, right? If you cannot sit on a video for more than a minute without clicking off and scrolling off into, like something that's just going to give you these cheap dopamine hits, well, then you are never going to be, successful. And it's just one of those things. How you do anything is how you do everything. If you can click that quickly off of a video, you can, click that quickly off of anything in your life. And that's just the thing. You need to learn really how to focus. You cannot compete on time. Everyone has the same amount of time in a day. We all have 24 hours, okay? Okay, we all have 24 hours of time, and we cannot compete there. But where we can compete is focus, right? And once we grow our businesses and our team to a certain point in time, okay, we can then start buying other people's time and other people's focus, and then we can use their time and their focus to make the productivity of our business that much greater. Guys, this has just been a quick little video into focus, why you should be competing on focus, why two people with the same amount of time can get different results over here, okay, and why we should really be optimizing our diet for focus. Now, there's a lot more of this, that I can go into, but I'm going to keep it nice and brief and short and sweet and simple. I hope it makes a lot of sense. Let me know down below what you think, and I will catch you in another video. Till then, bye-bye.